Hi again. So we'll pick up from the phases of small group socialization. We just talked about the phases, um, antecedent, anticipatory, encounter, assimilation, and exit phase. So we will continue talking about the material in chapter 2, the outcomes of socialization. One of the outcomes is cohesion. From a member's perspective, it means reaching an acceptable level of desire to stay in the group. So, cohesion, coherent. The word coherent is stemming from that. Consensus. Consensus, we know it's an agreement that a group reaches regarding a decision, um, as opposed to a vote, which may be divided, yeas and nays and abstained. A consensus is when every member of the group agrees to the decision, and it's better than a majority rule because it leaves the members with higher levels of satisfaction and they feel stronger cohesion through consensus. Communication satisfaction is the next outcome. It's a felt experience on an individual level, and it has three dimensions. First, how members see consensus in their group concerning each member's role. Second, judgments of the group's progress towards reaching goals. And third, freedom to participate in group interaction. So these are the additional angles of satisfaction from communication. How they feel about consensus, how they feel about reaching the goals, and how they contribute. There is a negative outcome as well. It's called loneliness. Of course, loneliness happens in many different circumstances. It's not a positive outcome of group experience, but Warchol describes loneliness in a work from 1994 in a group setting, of course, from a communication perspectives. It's powerlessness of some members that the individual feels from not being able to or allowed to participate in the group's process. Hess, in 1993, suggested that loneliness results from socialization practices that include only the task dimension and not the personal dimension, not the relational dimension of the group. And Keaton, in 2000, says that both aspects of groups' work are equally important. Both the task and the interaction are important. So there are a few guidelines towards socialization. Um, they're divided into new member socialization and existing member behavior. So new members should embrace the values norms of the group, acquire the skills and knowledge needed to play their role. So it means that they need to do their homework, they need to learn. Third, to understand what's important and prioritize the important things. Like sometimes in a group setting, people would be chiming in, bringing up things that are only distracting. So they need to keep focused, stay focused on the goal, and move from a non-performing member to a contributing member. So as a new member of a group, you really need to make that transition from a guest to a full member. In a group setting, others should do the following: recruit individuals who will collaborate and contribute to the goals of the group, initiate new members in orientation sessions, in group settings, include the new members in group activities, and become mentors for new people. And that actually enhances the relational aspect as well, because between the mentor and the mentee, there would be a strong bond. I actually object to the use of the word fit. The authors use fit in a couple of settings here in the chapter. I've heard from HR people that you can interpret the word fit in many different ways, including a very unpleasant interpretation that relates to a person's identity, who you are, your background. Do you fit? Are you like me or not? I eliminated the word fit and I replaced it with the word collaborate. So we are communicators. We're dealing with communication theory. I think the word collaborate, in this sense, when you're talking about group work, Even if it's a family, you still collaborate. You schedule a, a trip, you plan a wedding. It's all collaborative, rather than fit, because fitting can have an ugly aspect of discrimination. So, group socialization, it's a different aspect, a different conversation. At the group level, members may want to consider those guidelines for the group as a whole, to practice striving for success, and successfully socialize new members into the group. Those guidelines listed above concern the recruitment, initiation, inclusion, and mentorship of new members. Moreland and Levine in 1984 noted that the group searches for individuals who will collaborate and contribute to the attainment of group goals. And that's from page 182. Again, here I have replaced the word fit with the word collaborate, because it's not a direct quote around that word. Therefore, successful recruitment requires very clear group goals. And there are some other aspects, other moments, which you will read from the chapter. I'm not going to repeat it word by word, just highlighting, outlining the main points, so that while you're waiting for your books, some of you, you will have something to study. And finally, for optimal socialization to occur, group members must establish trust all around. Trust is a concept defined by Moreland and Levine, now in 2002, a little more recent, but as you notice, some other references from scholars are a little outdated. But in communication theory, that's not a deal breaker. So trust is defined as group members' willingness to take a chance on each other, and as such, a lack of trust may explain why some members never fully socialize. They cannot share, they're afraid of being judged, they're afraid of being wrong, or they perceive their socialization experience as negative. After they try and fail, they go away with a negative feeling, or simply they're uncommitted to the group task when there is no trust that the task will be accomplished successfully. So in order for the group's work to be successful, these conditions need to be met. Trust is the first one, and then the appropriate behavior towards socialization by new members, existing members. And we also talked about the phases of socialization, the 5 phases, and the reasons why people join groups. Okay, so this was basically the content of the chapter very briefly. I want to spend a couple of more minutes explaining to you that we will be working in groups on a project that involves discussing the possible scenarios of fall 2020. So some of you are graduating. I know a number of people are graduating, and this does not concern them. But if you're staying in school, if you're in college, it should concern you. And this, I think, would be a very realistic scenario for all of you to discuss. Seniors can pretend that they're still students and work on a hypothetical scenario as if they were a stakeholder. But even if you're not a student next semester, you may imagine as a member of a community, as a friend, or imagine that you're a faculty member or an administrator. How would you go about remaining safe in a global pandemic that is kind of on decline, but nobody knows if there will be a second wave? Would you rather prepare for online classes? Would you rather have a quarter system? I have those scenarios written out, and I will assign each group, each one of your groups, one scenario that you will deliberate on. You will discuss, and then you will make a little presentation online. not in person, but in writing. So notes to follow, assignments and everything will follow this, but I'm just telling you that I've already divided up the group into smaller subgroups, 5 people in each group, and I will be giving you the assignments based on hypothetical scenarios for fall 2020. Do we come back to school or what? Okay, talk to you later.